Funding for Inner Compass is provided by Calvin College.
The life that's unfolding,
the world that awaits,
gifts that are yours to explore,
and God's to use.
It's all happening here at Calvin.
Welcome to Inner Compass. I'm Karen Saupe. Why do musicians do what they do? It's harder than it looks. Fortunately for you and me, my guest today is an accomplished singer and songwriter, and we're going to ask him some questions about his art and how he uses it to change the world. Join us on Inner Compass.
From the campus of Calvin College, this is Inner Compass, exploring how people use faith and ethics to guide them through critical issues of today.
My guest today is John Francis, an award-winning singer-songwriter from Philadelphia. He's played for the United Nations, and his music from the CD Strong Wine and Spirits is getting airplay on radio stations across the country. Welcome, John.
Thank you, Karen.
You've been compared to or described as a cross between Johnny Cash and Jeff Buckley. Is that a fair comparison?
Well, I don't know if it's fair to say anyone is a cross between somebody and somebody else.
How do you...
I'd rather be myself.
Yourself.
But that being said, like, that's a really high compliment.
It is a compliment.
In my book.
Let's talk about the fact that you, in some ways, you must imitate other musicians to a degree, but while it's respectable to say that you're influenced, and I might add that your website lists, I would guess, a couple dozen musicians and writers who've influenced you. Very eclectic list,
Yeah. Steve
Earle, Keith Green, Nina Simone, Native American, Indian songs, just across the board, everything. There's honor and respect in that, but you would probably not want to be described as imitative in your style, right?
Yeah, I think for any artist, imitation is not necessarily the highest form of flattery.
How do you take influences and make something new out of them?
You have to know yourself. Get to know yourself as a writer. I mean, that's my goal anyway. People love Bob Dylan, and he's so attractive to so many people, and he's such a profound songwriter, a giant among songwriters, and it's because he's Bob Dylan. He's no one else.
He doesn't sound like anybody else. His
Right.
lyrics don't.
But
read
by
like anyone else.
By contrast, there's hundreds of like Dylan-esque, like the Dylan comparison is almost as like trivial as the Jeff Buckley comparison.
Sure.
Because if you have a high voice,
I was going to say, my hunch is you're compared to Jeff Buckley because you have an unusually high, beautiful, clear voice.
Yeah, and you can't. I do get pretty high.
At times,
Yeah.
you also have quite a wide range.
I can't shirk off a kind of compliment like Jeff Buckley because he's such a beautiful singer and such a deep, intense artist.
You've also talked about influences, like you've played several times now in Ireland, but I think you said that originally you went over to Ireland, kind of that's your ancestry, that's your roots, right?
Yeah, both sides of my family are from there.
Has Irish music then, have you picked up some of that?
I try to. Mostly the folk ballads, like the great old tunes. Like a lot of those songs were written by Irish Americans who were singing about leaving Ireland and not really wanting to leave, wishing they could go back.
Yeah, there's sort of melancholy sometimes in some of your music. Again, it's very varied. I wanted to try to characterize it. You told me earlier that you would probably describe it as country rock as much as anything, but there's quite a range of style in there. You did a song about Johnny Cash. He's been very important to you as an influence?
More and more, yeah, more and more so, I would say.
What has he contributed to who you are?
Wow, well, it's a good question. See, I grew up in the church, and my father is a minister, and my mother is as well. They're both ministers. So there's that whole stream of like influence in Johnny Cash's life as well.
The spiritual element.
Yeah. And growing up with like kind of like in the shadow of it almost, like a if I understand, I never met Johnny Cash, but I know that he grappled with this shadow and expectation for so long. Something that I think popular conceptions of Johnny Cash, like the mythic Johnny Cash perception, is like doesn't really include that part of his struggle, you know, or his spirituality. I mean, the guy went around. He was around the block a few times.
Sure.
You know.
Right. Right.
He lived hard. And when he was a man of faith, it wasn't a contradiction to his, you know.
Sure, because a man of faith can be a sinner and can have.
I hope so.
Yeah, right. We all do. We all do. Have you done any music that's explicitly religious in nature?
Well, yeah. I mean, I play in church a lot.
Okay.
I sing a lot of old spirituals and gospel songs. And
How about your own lyrics?
I would say so. Yeah.
Okay. What do you
I
think
mean,
about?
a lot of them are prayers.
Okay.
A lot of them are prayers.
What do you think about Christian contemporary music as a genre?
I think as a genre, I think it was an idea whose time had come. I think now it's an idea whose time is gone.
Okay. Where do you think church music goes from there then?
Well, I mean, to call something church music.
Or to, Christian music, let's say, more generally.
Yeah, Christian
Yes.
music. It's a good question. I was thinking about this on the way here. If I look tired, it's because I drove through the night to get here from New York City.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me. So I will sing songs like old Stanley Brothers songs sometimes, like Somebody Touched Me or Hallelujah, I'm Ready, songs like that. Or I'll also sing Amazing Grace at a bar, you know, or something like that.
Where people maybe aren't expecting to hear
Yeah.
an explicit witness.
Yeah, but you know, call it a witness or call it like, I really want to grab him by the heart.
Sure.
That's my job. You know, like, so, and I can do that with a hymn in a bar or a hymn in a church or a protest song, quote unquote protest song in a church or on a street corner or like a 7-Eleven parking lot or something like that.
So
Like
your music is your music and your performing is very much about trying to, as you say, grab people by the heart, maybe change the way they think or even the way
change
they
the way
live.
they feel. Yeah.
Did it
and change the way they live.
Did it start out that way when you first started to play and to write music? Which came first, by the way? Did you grew up listening to music and you listened to Hendrix and you listened to Neil Young and you listened to church music and everything in between. When did you start to play and why?
That's a really good question. I guess I started to sing when I was really, really young, but I started to like try to play piano. I took piano lessons when I was maybe like 11, 12 in there, and I would mess around with it. My mom plays piano and guitar as well, so we would sing together, play together. But when I really caught like the fever for it, I was maybe 13.
Okay. And was that about the fun of music, or was there even at that point a drive to shape the way people live?
I think it was a serious like mission for me.
Even from the beginning?
Even from the beginning. Okay. And a lot of that has to do with like, you know, quite frankly, like wanting to emulate mom and dad in the church.
Okay.
And like this is how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to be up in front of people and playing, you know, and like wooing them and you know. So it was definitely like it was a very spiritual thing at that time.
Okay.
You know, and then over the past, I'm 28 now, so over the past like 15 years, it's gone through many different phases and stuff. But I think that like consistent thread runs through it where like, you ask me, do I want to change people's hearts, like grab their hearts, and I do, but I think that's what every great singer or every great performer does. Like we love Neil Young because his songs won't get out of your head. Right, right. You know?
He amazes me because he's not at all a beautiful singer. There's just sort of grit in his songs, and his voice wavers and quavers, and yet you can't.
And that's beautiful.
Yes, It's so honest.
It's
and
so
it's
compelling.
So personal. Right.
It's the honesty that gets people, I think, you know?
What is it? Is it just a general? I mean, you say this evolves. I have the sense if you're emulating parents who are pastors, then initially there's a specific maybe spiritual goal in wanting to draw people to faith. Your message has become broader. At least the lyrics that I've heard are sometimes overtly political, sometimes much more subtle. Do you have sort of a message of the month? Do you really more generally want to make people stop and think?
I think for me it's very personal.
Okay.
Like I won't write a topical song. I won't sit down and say, okay, right now I'm going to write a song about global warming.
Right.
And some artists do that.
Sure.
Like some people do that. I've never been able to do that really. So it's really a matter of like, it's a matter of being moved personally, in an intuitive fashion.
What you have a song called "Love in the Fallout Shelter," and you talk about life underground, living while the bombs are going, and the final line of that song is "Don't let your eyes adjust to the dark."
Yeah.
And the message there seems to be that this isn't going to be okay. Let's not
the
be okay
message is
with this.
Not okay.
That
right.
seems to me very, very political in nature.
Oh, it is.
But it's also deeply personal. One thing that struck me about that song was how the way you shape the narrative of that song is just describing everyday details in a bunker.
Yeah. That song came to me in a dream.
Really?
Yeah, I dreamt all of those scenarios. Like,
John, could you walk us through a song and maybe talk some about the process of coming up with the lyrics and the music? I have lots of questions about how musically they come to be, but
I want to give you little bits of this song. It's called "Love Came to Me Dressed in Red," and it's a song that just recently won an award.
An ASCAP award.
ASCAP, yeah. And I started writing it while I was watching TV, which I've gotten in that
That's not usually an inspiration for art.
It's not an inspiration, it's a distraction.
Okay.
So like I flip on the TV, and then like my whole right brain can sort of like, or I guess the left brain switches off. I'm kind of zoned off on the TV, and then with my hands and with my like imagination, I start to think of images.
So there's sort of a subconscious process.
And melodies. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's where a lot of songs come from. Is
really? Yeah.
Yeah, from some people would say like the ether, but really it's more. So anyway, I was sitting there watching like something. Deal or No Deal, or something ridiculous like that, and I started doing this. That, and I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Like, you know, and the melody came, and it's like, bum 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 bum. And I started thinking of a lyric, and this old lyric from a Mississippi John Hurt song came to my mind. The lyric goes, all the people dressed in red. I forget. It was right there at that moment.
The people dressed in red.
People dressed in red. Angels led them away. You know, something like that. So I translated it and sort of made it my own. You know, so it's, my love came to me dressed in red, red as rubies of her lips, and battlefields where armies bled, dying for their flags, crying for their gods, gods who bleed like men. My love came to me painted blue. It goes on.
And so
it goes on, and it goes through different colors, like, my love came to me bound in black, blacker than the moon's eclipse, blacker still than raven's wings, shadowing my dreams and the nightmares of my youth. She was darker than the truth. It was only for a moment, then we're gone, like horses over hills and setting suns. My love comes back to me dressed up in songs.
John Hurt starts out with the image of the people dressed in red.
He doesn't start with it, it's somewhere in the middle of his song.
And so it was just that fragment of an image that leads you to then the process of all the different colors. And now where do the horses come in? I mean, you have a line in another song, I chased after your car in my socks through the snow, and I thought, okay, that
actually happened.
I was going to say, it had to have really happened, because who would think of that otherwise,
yeah,
right?
That actually happened.
So
the
how
horses,
do these images come to you?
I like horses. The horses image, I guess I was looking for an image about the passing of time.
Okay.
Because I think this song really is about impermanence. It's about love.
Almost all your songs are about love in some
love or politics.
Right. Well, and I was going to say this song that you just played bits of almost immediately gets serious and fairly political in the sense, or I guess political in the sense that it begins about war or battle,
or at least blood.
Do you ever write songs that are just sort of lighthearted and fun?
Sorta. I can't think of one.
Okay.
I think Vineyard's a pretty lighthearted tune. It's a blues tune.
Right.
You know? It gets intense though.
It does, yes.
You know this one, yeah?
Yes.
My heart's a drum skin, thumping rhythm and time. My love's a vineyard, babe. Come and squeeze out the wine. A little more playful.
You'd have to have a mix like that in your concerts, or you really exhaust people. Well, I mean, mentally it's exhausting to think so hard through lots of heavy songs.
Yeah, it is.
I was struck too. The first song on your CD is "Heavy, Heavy Love," which is really rocks. Is kind of more crank up the radio and listen as you drive down the street music than the rest, and that's gotten some good play in Philadelphia.
It has, yeah.
I wonder if people are surprised then to hear your more contemplative, slower, narrative-driven songs.
I think that first track is like, it throws people a little bit.
But so maybe some of your music is kind of, you have to draw them in somehow. You have to get them intrigued, right?
Yeah.
The more serious, you played at the United Nations.
Right, on Tuesday.
And I mean, that had to be, I would assume, one of your bigger gigs in terms of maybe the influence or the message or the import of that occasion. What did that mean to you? What was it like?
It definitely had leading up to it, I definitely felt like it was going to be something significant.
This was the day, the International Day to end world hunger.
Yeah, it was the 10th anniversary of the international agreement toward the eradication of extreme poverty, and there was delegates there from the UN, and there was poor folks from Appalachia and Ireland and New York and Guatemala. They came and gave like testimonials.
How did you choose what song to play there?
I wanted to do something that was sort of lighthearted. I sang "Trouble in These Times," and they asked me to sing "Trouble in These Times." You know, should I give a little piece of it?
Just give us a verse.
Mercy, mercy me, what is the meaning and the mystery of this present age? The nations rage and the prophets are cut down in their prime. I seen so much trouble these times.
It's a beautiful song that the several verses talk about all kinds of problems that we have in our times. How do you keep these serious and important songs from becoming propaganda? Because I think they don't. I think your messages are subtle and they force us to think. But do you ever feel like you're a little too heavy-handed?
I mean, I've been accused of that.
Really?
Yeah.
Of propaganda? Or of
being political.
But why wouldn't?
And to me, that's kind of like a.
That's your right, isn't it?
That's I don't like that label being slapped on something, because if you can put that label on something, you can discount it.
Sure.
You can write it off.
Right.
I mean, we do.
So then the trick with real art,
with politicians,
sure.
if I hear, like, and I'm not a politician, but I do think it's the responsibility of artists. I shouldn't touch my mic. It's the responsibility of artists to say something meaningful. Like,
right.
Please.
But artistically, if you can say something meaningful that it will maybe open doors instead of shutting them, or
that's it.
Maybe not give the final answer.
You know what's really interesting? Lately, okay, so without getting too heavy into the political kind of, our conversation could go in a million directions about politics, but right now, whether they have an idea of a solution or not, 64% of America thinks that what's going on in Iraq is not appropriate. Yeah, 64%. Now, of those 64%, that's Democrats and Republicans. That's people all the way on the left and people all the way on the right. You know. And so what I've noticed is sometimes it shows. I'll be playing a show, and there'll be somebody who walks in, and he'll look like he's, you know, in my preconceived notion, he'll look like he's maybe a Marine. Now, one of my best friends in the world is actually a brother of mine, like not literally, but he's my brother. He's a sergeant in the Marine Corps, and he loves my songs because I can paraphrase what he would say, because they're telling the truth. You know, I mean, you can tell when somebody's telling the truth.
And maybe that's it too. The truth is complicated. The truth is complex.
But the truth as to like how it makes me feel.
Right. Right.
And maybe how it makes people feel.
So
like to be an observer of how it makes you feel. And I can write a song about that.
So the personal connection is one of the ways that you can most get your message across.
Yeah.
Yeah. John, we're going to let you sing a whole song in just a moment. My guest today is award-winning singer-songwriter John Francis from Philadelphia. I'm Karen Saupe. Thank you for watching Inner Compass.
Who took the heart out of the heartland? Who took the wild out of wild blue yonder? Who took the middle out of middle class? And who took the Indians out of the summer? And who took the clues away from the rebels? Who took the peace out of the pipe? Who took the candy away from the baby? Who made a living off of taking your life? Oh, was it you or was it me? I can't say. Was it everyone who looked the other way? And who took the muse away from musicians? Who took the apple out of American pie? Who took the moss off the stone that's a rolling? Who took the equal out of equal rights? And who took the power out of power to the people? Who took the sting out of Cassius Clay? Who took the difference between good and evil? Who took United from the USA? Oh, it you or was it me? I can't say. Was it everyone who looked the other way? And who took the rest out of rest for the weary? Who took the beating? Who took the fall? Who took the buffalo off of the prairie? Who took the justice out of justice for all? And who took the quest out of asking the question? Who took your vision while you're watching TV? Who took ulteriors and put them in the motives? Who took the human from humanity? Who took the human from humanity? Oh, was it you or was it me? I can't say. Was it everyone who looked the other